The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Hire Fast Podcast, a podcast aimed at educating you on hiring the right person for the right job and keeping them. Are you sick of spending precious time and energy hiring and training people just to have them turn around and quit? Then join Alan and his guests on Hire Fast as they teach you how to skillfully motivate and attract rock star talent. Now here is your host, Alan Daviduk.
Hello, welcome back to Hire Fast. This is the Hire Fast podcast. Hire Fast is a main component of the S.M.A.R.T system, and the S.M.A.R.T system is the fastest path to predictable and sustainable profit in your restaurant. It's a true continuous improvement framework, a one of a kind, that attracts, develops, and retains better people that you need to grow your business so you can live a better life. So I want to introduce you to my guest today, Corey Masson, the main man at the S.M.A.R.T system.
Hey, Alan. Great to be here again, man.
Great to have you, man. So who is this podcast for? It's for restaurant business owners. It's for multi-unit managers, area managers, leadership teams, the people that are running the restaurant. People that have to attract and develop better employees. And they want to retain and protect their core employees, their long-term people, the people that are doing it for them. And if that isn't you, I still want you to stick around. I want you to hear us out and listen to everything we have to say and drop a comment below because we'd love to hear from you. So in last week's episode, we talked about, we had a 3-step process to Skillfully: goals, measures, and compensation plan. Last week we talked about measures. How are you going to achieve the goals that you set? On today's episode, we're going to talk about compensation plan, right? How do we use the compensation plan to achieve the goals and measures to get the people that we need? And we're going to also talk to you about a tool that we developed called Hire Fast. So today, Corey, we're going to talk about compensation plan. So if you remember, back in the day, I had this goal, right? I wanted to make $4 million, break $4 million in sales in the restaurant, and I needed 60 employees, and I only had 40, right? So, I constantly needed these 20 more people, and I just couldn't get them. It didn't matter what I did. I couldn't hold on to them. I couldn't do anything. So, the compensation plan I saw as the main thing that would get people to play with me, to talk to me, to kind of attract them to me, to have something to sell them. How do you see the compensation plan?
Well, the compensation plan actually became a goal progress measure for you, right? In the end, we went ahead and said, if you're going to go ahead and go, I think you had a lofty goal of going from 280% of talent turnover down to 100, which was still below the median of 140%. We said, hey, we want to go ahead and take care of our talent. We want them to be happy. We wanted to go ahead and then look at what is another driver. That's obviously customer satisfaction to your $4 million goal, and then ultimately develop a talent pool. And relative to the talent pool, to bring people in, actually maybe retain those who are currently active in that 40 or so that you had at one point. Who are they? Who are you going to actually compensate to stay? And so the compensation plan became an opportunity to say, we want to pay you to play with us, but we also want to pay you for your performance with us. And so it became a driver in the discussion on the Hire Fast machine that said, hey, as we're applying, we wanted to go ahead and do something completely radical and different where the talent could go ahead and design their own comp plan. And this is beyond the typical compensation plan of benefits and, vacation time. This is actually, no, you're being paid to perform your job and the basic things.
Well, so I want to back up to that place when I was in that real dark place, right? That I would go into these interviews and I had nothing to sell, right? I would literally talk to someone and I'd say, hey, everything is chaotic and a mess here, and I can only pay you this much money, probably less than where everybody else is offering you. What do you think, man? You want to come in and you want to hang out with us? Right? This is great, right? And what happened was I would literally go into these interviews and I knew it wasn't going to happen. I wasn't going to close them. I wasn't going to convert them. So I went in my energy was defeated. I was miserable. I was almost like, how long is this going to take before they tell me to screw, right? And this is what I saw the compensation plan was basically, this was my opportunity. If I had something to sell that was different than everybody else, man, we could win, right? We could get those people that I needed to achieve the sales and have the better life and stop working 7 days a week for 7 months straight, right? And being miserable. I could stop all that if I could just get this piece right.
Yeah. In all honesty, the compensation plan inadvertently helped team members, future team members, both the leadership understand, who do we want to hire and why? And more importantly, we gave the talent, and you were coaching the potential employee, your future rock stars along the way, say, how do you value your time? And how do you value your worth? So you're actually teaching them through the compensation plan as they designed their own comp plan, what do you want? And how do you want to achieve that? And how are we going to help you activate that? So it was a win-win all around, which is a core component of, again, to something else we talked about before, is the culture. Everyone wanted to then be there. So again, it's just a really simple tool and simple asset to every organization. It's the act of doing and putting in place and understanding those levers that you need to pull to attract more talent.
There was something else that was happening too, right? There was something else that was happening where I would compare myself to the big guys, right? I would say, oh, well, this guy over here, he's willing to pay people, 5 days a week, give them all this stuff. They could actually sit at home on the couch, he'd mail them a check, I want to go work there. Right? And this is what I would feel I was competing against, right? When I said I had nothing to sell, right? And the power that I got from having the right compensation plan, right? One that I really believed in, that, I knew when I walked in there, I had a confidence, right?
Right. Well, I know where your businesses are, and you're, ultimately this is a nationwide situation. That's again why we put the S.M.A.R.T system in place. Is Massachusetts has a minimum wage of 15. New Hampshire's half that, not even, right?
Great point.
And so the point being is, well, how am I going to comp people that are nearby who are like, oh, I'll drive extra minutes to go ahead and make more money? So you actually flipped the script a bit with the compensation plan that you put in play and says, we value your worth. Here's the peaks and valleys of your time that we want to pay you more for. And then ultimately, in the end, if you perform your job well, we're going to actually give you more bonuses. So you actually decreased your talent turnover rate by retaining higher valued employees, those who valued themselves and valued the business, for what it's worth. And then they went ahead and just a random fact that's out there in this industry that you're in, it's about $6,000 for every person that you're hiring and firing. And you had a 280% turnover rate, you're in the red.
Right, think about that, right? We talked about in other episodes, we talked about the revolving door, right? So the revolving door, think about the math that Corey just threw out there, right? If you got a calculator, $6,000 a person, right? And it could be a little bit more depending on the situation, and maybe different for you, right? It was $6,000 for me. And then if in 1 year, I turned 160 people in a 4-store network. Do the math on that one, right? You're talking up close to $1 million that we turned, and then we had nothing to show for it at the end, right? And then we wonder why we say to ourselves, well, I can't afford to pay people more money. I can't do that. Actually, you're already doing it, and you're paying them way more than you think. And the only correction I would make to what Corey said is that mass minimum wage today is $13.50, but it's going to 50. It's happening, and we can't stop it, right? So the average pay, the minimum wage in New Hampshire is $7.25, and my average pay rate with my employees is $15 an hour. Not because, that it has anything to do with minimum wage. It has to do with, to flip the script, I was after something specifically, right? I was after what I call better people, right? So what I was getting was typical people. So let me just explain what that is to help the people listening to this, right? Typical people are the people that aggravate the shit out of you, right? They trade time for money. How many hours a week am I going to get? How much money am I going to make? And you're like, dude, wrong question, right? You're asking me all the wrong questions, right? Now, the better people, what I really zoned in on during these thousands and thousands of interviews, because don't forget, the revolving door was going crazy, right? So I was doing interviews. I was doing 8 a day, right? And I wasn't landing any of them. But I was learning a lot. I was learning the difference between when I could actually sniff out a typical person, right? And then I could sniff out a better person. And I was like, shit, how do I get them? What do I got to do to land them, right? They were asking me different. They were like, oh, okay, money's good. But then they started asking me this whole list of questions, right? Things that I wasn't prepared for. How do I advance? What responsibilities are, what's the culture like in here? What if I have a barbecue in July, right? Where I'm working right now, they're like, no, we can't give you the day off. Can you work a 6th day? Like they were saying all this stuff, and I was like, whoa, they're looking for other things, right? I have to bake that into this.
Yeah, you've actually transformed the challenge that you have now and saying, I have too many people, I need to find time for them to work.
Right. Got to open another restaurant.
Exactly. Good answer. But, in the end, it's another opportunity for an organization to go slow, to go fast, and, evaluate those things that are of meaning to them. Like, I want to pay people, I want to pay them to perform, but when are they really going to be playing? Right? So we have 2 tenets and 2 components of the compensation plan, the play and perform. And it's a really simple exercise that we take at the S.M.A.R.T system to do that. But again, how much you're trying to make, who you're going to go ahead and hire, like develop, what person do you want?
So I just want to, you just said pay to play, right? So I just want to focus on that for a second. So when we go back to what I was trying to achieve, right, and we go back to the goal that I had, I wanted to make, X amount of sales, right? Then, I know what I need to get it, but I can't achieve that, right? So what I baked into the compensation plan, which I thought was the genius, right, is when I actually came up with the word skillfully, when we were trying to figure out and name this thing that we were birthing, right, and ended up becoming the S.M.A.R.T system, and in my mind, and I know this frustrated you when I came up with it, because skillfully doesn't have technically the definition that the real definition of skillfully is. But for me, the reason I came up with the word skillfully is I said, I want to use compensation, and the word skillfully just popped in there. Skillfully, I want to use the money skillfully to get the people I need. I want to use it wisely, right? And that's where I came up with skillfully, right? So, things like I need people to work the weekend, right? Sounds so simple, right? But there were people that were walking in and they're like, hey, I want $15 an hour and I can only work 9 to 2, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I'm like, dude, that doesn't work. There's a restaurant. Like, we're open in the morning, we're open at night, we're open weekends, we're open holidays. You can't do any of that. Listen, you're a nice person. I'd love to hang out with you, at a barbecue or something, but you have no value to me.
Right.
Right? You're not going to help me achieve my goal of what I'm trying to. I need better people, right? So this is the stuff openers, like the things that the business needs. And we had to identify that first, right? That was back in that goal session that we did, where you filled up 3 whiteboards of stuff, right? So, I got to ask you guys at home, right, or the people listening, do you hire people based off of what you need, right? Or do you just throw it out there, right? I'm just going to pay people 15, whatever the number is, right? It doesn't matter what the number is, but you just pay this number, but you really have no rhyme or reason why you do it, right? So now you create a situation, right? Take this is the one thing I want you to take away from this podcast today. You create a situation, you don't do it purposely, right? But you create a scenario where you got 2 people standing next to each other. You got Sally and Timmy, right? And Sally's the single mom. She does all this stuff, holidays, weekends. She works her butt off, right? You want to clone her. And then Timmy is the good kid who plays football. He's 17 years old. He works weekends, but most of the time he doesn't work weekends because he calls out because they win the game on Friday, and then he calls out on Saturday because they went out and partied, right? So really he works about 8 hours a week, but yet they make the same money. Right? And this was a situation that I saw over and over and over again, and it really internally drove me crazy, right? Because it wasn't fair, right? It didn't make sense, and that's where I wanted to, when I walked into that interview, I wanted to say, hey man, we do things differently here, right? It's nothing like what you've seen.
Yeah, and I just want to add, what's interesting you keep saying is like, then you walked into the interview. Now, the interview actually happens before you even speak to the talent. And our hire fast workflow ultimately goes ahead and lets the talent design their compensation plan without you even engaging with them. So they know before they hit send what their potential is.
So guys, what Corey is getting into is, like, I'm actually getting tingly just sitting here because this is the result of all of the years of all of this stuff, and it evolved to this, we call it the hire fast machine. It's a tool that we actually get all the heavy lifting done in the interview process before you ever meet the person. So I want to let Corey go into this a little deeper, but this is badass, I'm telling you right now. You're going to want to call us, and you're going to want to take this thing for a test drive, because this is the future of hiring. So good. Let's start right from the beginning of how the tool works.
Well, really quick, it's basically a compelling ad that's out there putting your business forth out in the in the industries, targeted marketing, who are you trying to hire, right? And then best yet, you've already alluded to this, is who are we? So the application onboarding process, really the Hire Fast machine, is an automated system that flips the script. We actually advise business owners to pay someone who went through it if they get hired, because the process takes less than a whole hour from application onboarding with all the automation in between. Automation being, they learn who you are, they type in the demographics, the simple demographics, and we cut all the fluff out of all that stuff too, because you don't need a
in
whole
the
lot.
hour, what you're saying by the hour though is, guys, I just want to make sure it's not an hour application. It's an hour all the way to them starting to work for you.
Yeah, and
right, the whole process.
Yeah, and that's in this industry. Obviously, if you're a pharmaceutical company, you have like 3 to 4 levels of interview processes. Well, we can work with you there too. But the reality is we're still trimming the fat on that process as well. By all means, really great for small mom and pops, quick service industry that's fighting for good talent. No longer are talent just uploading a resume, they're actually living their resume. They go into the application, they share who they are through audio or video. Again, we're learning more about who he or she is, what type of fit might they be before we even talk to them.
This is like hiring with a purpose.
Exactly.
Right? We're specifically looking for it's tactical.
Exactly. So we advise and we put out there, who are we, what's our culture about, and they know exactly what the organization stands for. And that's what you did. We took those core conversations in the recruiting room that you had, and we brought them online, made it personable, made it live, made it easy.
I gotta tell the viewers a story. So we were building this thing out, right? And we didn't have it all together. We were putting all these pieces together, and me and Corey were talking, and we're like, man, I want personality. Like personality first, skill set second. That's what I want, right? So we created this video that is baked into the machine, and it's me up there, and I wanted to get people out of their shell, right? So I wanted to do something to trigger them. And Corey's running around my office, and he's grabbing like all these things, like these stupid things that are in my office, props and different things, right? So I'm in there, I'm doing this video, and I felt so stupid, right? I felt like the biggest idiot. I had Italian necklaces on. I had a Freddy Krueger doll, and we made all these props work, right? I had this big giant donut, so I was eating a donut, right? And it's so funny because it's the one part of the entire machine that people resonate with the most. It's the one thing that they talk about. They call me and they're like, "Hey, I got to meet this guy. He's really cool." I hated it when I was doing it. It was awful.
And if you watch all the feedback videos, all the feedback and also the videos that go through it, everyone's happy to see the personality for whom you are, right? And it's like they learn about the business owner and the team right up front. And we've actually, I remember there was a guy that went through the process and showed his favorite thing was goats and animals. And he actually went outside with the video camera, like, there you go. And so comfort. And by all means, it's a process though that, yes, it's an introduction to the organization. Yes, it's an introduction to the individual who's applying. But more importantly, there's a simple process of navigating when do you want to work, when, and then how are you going to compensate your compensation plan. All automated, very straightforward. Couple clicks of the button, then spits out a number that you're going to want to go ahead and say, I'm valued this. I think my time's worth that. I will then come apply for that.
Here's the interesting that happens, though. The interesting thing that happens in the process, the journey that the candidate goes through, right? As Corey was describing the different steps. But really, for me, it was a way for me to eradicate the things that aggravated me, right? So one thing that would aggravate me is I remember specifically, I got this call, and I know I've talked about it in one of the episodes, where the person called me and they're like, "Hey, Alan, before I waste my time driving down there, how much money?" And I'm like, I want to hang this phone. I want to throw this phone across the room, right? Because this makes no sense. This conversation is irritating me, right? I don't want to play. I don't even want to meet you. Forget it. I'm out. I need help and I'm out. I don't want to work with you because you're showing me something that I don't like, right? I can't work with you, right? This machine, this tool, it fixes that because what it does is it's a true flipping of the script, right? So we say to people, listen, here's what we do, right? Think about this, right? Here's what we do. Here's how we do it. You either fit or you don't, right? If you don't, not a big deal. Leave, right? So we actually monitor people what stage they leave in because it's interesting to see, right, that they're looking in a mirror and they have to say to themselves, well, this guy's telling me I have to work weekends, right, to get this pay bump.
Right.
I don't want to work weekends. And you know what? That's cool. Like, don't tell us you go to church and you do it. Like, do you want to work weekends or not, man? It's pretty simple, right? Church is from 8:15 to 9. Like, what do you do the rest of the day? You just don't want to, and that's okay, right? But the people that do the things that the restaurant needs, they get rewarded.
Yep.
You can still work here and not work weekends. You can still work here, and right? But the reason we're paying and compensating differently is because these people are helping us achieve what we're after.
Yeah, you just teetered into the performance side, right? Ultimately, is like how well someone's doing their job. You compensate for that, and then ultimately you go ahead and compensate. Are they a good fit? Are they promoting the culture and the lifestyle that we're fostering here in this business? And ultimately, again, what is their integrity in their efforts? And the reality is, the compensation plan piggybacks something else you'll talk about someday, maybe the Rockstar journey. And
we're going to get to that.
And how it's all about, you say you want to do this, you want play to play, you get paid to play, but are you performing when you're playing? So that's a self-evaluation as well.
So 2 stages, right? Pay to play, right? That's the beginning part. That's how we get people to start working here. And then the pay to perform, and we're doing it from the beginning, right up front. We're saying, hey, man, remember those people I was telling you about, the better people that, they're asking different questions? Well, this is how we get to them. We kind of resonate with them, right? We say, listen, we're going to give you the blueprint, the map to make more, to do more, to be more, right? Right from the beginning. It's beautiful, right? And there's accountability built in, right? For those out there that are saying, if you give money to someone and then you got to take it away, like, what are you talking about, right? Well, yeah, right? Or they have to make a decision. Imagine this, right? This is the aha that I had, is people make a decision to get better. Like, I don't go to work in the morning, right? I'm late. I can't get up. An employee will say to you, I can't get up 5 in the morning. Well, you want to make the more money, right? Whatever that we associate to that. Well, stop playing video games, man. Right? Stop eating fried chicken and feeling like crap in the morning, right? Maybe you eat a salad and then you get up in the morning, you make $2 more an hour. Like, oh my God, like this is possible for you, right? This is solving a massive problem for all of us, right? And I'm not solving the problem for you. Initially, I was solving the problem for me, but it's worked so well that I want to share it with you.
Yeah, it checks all the boxes with transparency and accountability, and it just shows that the owners know who they want to hire, and then the potential employees know who the owners are. And we're used to this in all the sports world and all these other industries where, hey, you want to be a QB, make all the money, go ahead. But your reality is, you might become a wide receiver because you have talent, so you get paid less. It is, pay to play, pay to perform.
So imagine the possibility, everyone. You had a unique way to hire, right? A unique way that is not, it's unlike your competitors, right? So you're selling something amazing, and people are going to love this process. If you had all the info, right, in front of you before you even met the candidate, maybe you don't like their personality. We use video and audio to capture certain things, right? Things like job history and education history and references and personality, right? That was the big one that we talked about. They get to pick their own compensation plan, right? So they're choosing it, not you. They schedule when to meet with you, right? So all those job board ads that you do, and then like everybody ghosts you and no one shows up, right? This is the other way. The candidate is saying, hey, I love this. I want to meet you on Thursday, right? Or whatever it is, right, that you open up for your schedule. And then there's reminders and follow-ups, right? Hey, Sally, don't forget, you're meeting with Corey on Tuesday at 2, right? And here's the address. We're going to buy you a cup of coffee, a donut, whatever it is, right? This is beautiful. This is nothing like what's out there, right? So we've developed this tool that accelerates our goals, right? It's one of the measurement pieces that we use to make sure that we're on track, right? It fits in with everything else we've talked about. It rounds out skillfully, right? And all that heavy lifting is done. It speeds things up. You get better fits, right? And there's other steps in the process which we'll go over later. But this whole process, it saves time and money, right? And this is what we realized. This was an aha moment for me and Corey one day. We were really tracking everything, and we sped up the recruiting and onboarding process by, what was it, like 75%?
75%, yeah, it was over 70%.
What can you do with that time, right? What can you do with the money you save? So thank you, Corey. So the next episode, we will get into the core competencies of retention, right? What's happening in the 4 walls of your restaurant. It's the M in the SMART system. We call it motivate, and how to transfer your culture and your environment and to get people to care, and we'll explain what that means. Because care is a framework that creates engagement and a place where people love to come to work, and that's what we're going to be talking about next week. So thank you so much for listening today. Remember that the leaders with the best employees win every single time. And if you haven't already clicked subscribe or follow below, please do so we can keep you up to date. You can visit me at getsmartsystem.com. Go down below, click Learn More. You can email me at alan@getsmartsystem.com. You can call me at 188-3SMART5. Ciao for now.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.